So I'm speaking today with Beth Kriegbaum. Beth is a pastor in Shenango Presbytery. She has helped to create an emergency worship kit. Beth, tell us about this. What is involved with that? How does it work?
Yeah. So I discovered a little while ago that many of us can be caught in a lurch when we're all of a sudden put in quarantine. And so not just me, but with the whole presbytery, we started to create kind of an emergency plan. What do you do when you're all of a sudden exposed on Saturday night to COVID, or your kid has a cough and you can't come to church? We live in a world that we can't just go to work sick the way we may have done 10 years ago. And so the toolkit was kind of a bunch of options for us as pastors to consider, that we put forth to the presbytery to see what might work for you in your context. And so we invited every session to talk about what might work. And so there in the toolkit is, we asked for volunteers to donate manuscripts so that an entire worship service, including a manuscript for a sermon, could be available for someone who feels comfortable, whether an elder or not, could read that manuscript for their congregation in the absence of a pastor, with all of kind of the liturgical parts in it if it was needed for confessions and pastoral prayers. There's also some non-sermon options in the toolkit that includes a hymn sing with the story behind the hymns for favorite hymns, both a Christmas version, I believe, and a non-Christmas version. So you could just sing some of your favorite songs and hear the stories behind those hymn writers and how they came to that message, those lyrics. We have a list of a couple of children's stories that would lend themselves. You could couple them in place of a sermon. You would just insert this scripture passage and read this children's sermon or this children's book, and that would be in place of the sermon. And so just trying to come up with creative ways when clergy are not just, coming out of the woodwork ready to fill a pulpit on last minute notice. What can we do and be prepared when things happen? And so the presbytery came up with a list of these options that are available, and encouraging our sessions to talk about what the plan might be, in case the thing happens.
Yeah. What has been the reaction? What's been the response? Has this been used, or are you getting good feedback on it?
I've had a couple of people say that it was helpful. I know that it forced, if nothing else, it forced my session to have a plan in place. And so they actually had the discussion about what happens when this happens. And so even since this has been in place, they have two plans in place. One is a hymn sing, and with the stories and things like that. And one is the manuscript that's sitting on the secretary's desk waiting in case I can't be there. And they recently had to make the decision, and pulpit supply person was late, and they had to make the decision of what to do, and they had the tools in place, so they were able to make that decision. And then thanks be to God, the pulpit supply person arrived, and they were able to but so I think it's still new, so I'm not sure how widely it's being used, but we wanted to get the tools in place and get the conversation started.
Mm-hmm. Where is this available? Is it available on the Presbytery website, or how can people get this?
Yeah, so in our presbytery, it's shenango.org, and it has a list of some of the liturgies. And as I create more to put into the toolbox as part of my job at the presbytery level, those get uploaded to our website, so shenango.org. I'm not sure which tab. I'm the director of presbytery advancement, so it would probably be under my tab. And so the emergency plan, if you scope out that website, you'll find some of those resources and liturgies that I've tried to cultivate that are more general, that can be kind of picked up and used. So, yeah.
And is there, I assume there's a lot of different resources you can kind of mix and match depending on your service, or how does that work? Is there one set of things for one service, or you can mix and match? How does that work?
Right. So my service, so what I started was with a very liturgical service, because I figured it was always easier to cut back. We don't do a prayer of confession, or we don't have this. It's always easier to peel away and say that's not who we are as a church, than to try to figure out and add things that are that are not given. So I created actually probably a more liturgical service than what most of our churches do, to have more rather than less. But there are different styles and different options, different seasons that we're trying to use as well.
Yeah. Beth, thank you for your time, and thanks for sharing about the emergency worship kit.
Well, thanks. Blessings.